Okay, greetings everybody. It is Sunday the 12th, I believe. Yes, the 12th. No green screen behind me today. This is kind of like home sweet home. This is where I live. There will probably be noises in the background because life continues to happen. Aspects. There is one aspect that we're going to be talking about that essentially begins, this week, and that is that Mars Neptune square that I intimated in last week's consideration, and the conjoining of that particular aspect by the Sun and Mercury, all forming a square. And that is kind of like the major aspect that this week has in store for us. But before we get carried away with that, one aspect that is transpiring right now. It kind of has a longer footprint, and that is Jupiter and Chiron joined together at 14 degrees of Aries. And because those two planets are not moving very fast, there's a lingering quality to what it is that they represent. And Jupiter, whatever or wherever Jupiter is involved, there's likely to be an essence of energy that is not trying to be small. That's just not Jupiter's forte. And Chiron, a planetary body, I should say, one of the Centaur asteroids in between the orbits of Mars and Saturn, is an often energetic signature that isn't entirely grasped for the potential of what it actually is. A lot of people say, oh yeah, it's the wounded healer, and go off on this tangential trajectory of wound. Well, there is a wounding factor to what Chiron represents because his life, began as a wound, and the wound was he was abandoned by both of his parents. And whenever Chiron is involved in any celestial consideration, you can just ignore that particular aspect. But the healing process of what Chiron went through based on that particular initiation to his particular cycle is really a lot more where I am inclined to focus the energy. And in honor of that, I began a painting a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to dedicate it to the honor of this Jupiter Chiron conjoining of energies that is underway right now. And this is the painting in the background right now. It's incomplete. You might often wonder, where do you reach a point of completeness from an artistic perspective? And I don't really have that answer. I do know that there are a number of paintings that I've done that they reach a certain stage and it's just kind of like the creative juices just stop flowing at that point, or something else is calling us to do or distracting us from that to do something different. Anyway, this is the current piece of art that I'm working on, and this is also part of the reason that I didn't stick up the green screen today, is because I wanted to basically honor that Jupiter Chiron dance that's going on. We'll bring this in just a little bit closer so you can actually see it. This is the healing protocol, and that those characters that are down there on the lower portion of this side of the screen, going through an attunement process. And attunement is a energy sharing vehicle in which health can be reestablished within the living experience of somebody. Actually, it's within the living experience of all of life. That is what attunement really is. And so, anyway, that's the painting I'm working on at the moment. Let's add a little extra dimension to this by considering the Sabian symbol for the degree of the zodiac from Dane Ruger's astrological mandala book for that particular degree where these two celestial bodies are coming together. And the vision was an Indian weaving a ceremonial blanket. The keynote: protecting or projecting into everyday living the realization of wholeness and fulfillment. In Christian traditions, it's Sunday, welcome to church. One hears of Jesus' seamless robe. In Asia, one is told of the spiritual vesture of the perfect ones. The man who has attained the spiritual state is figuratively robed in the universe, and more precisely in the Milky Way, the great white robe of interwoven stars. This is the ultimate kind of weaving. There is also Penelope's weaving and unweaving, waiting for the return of her polarizing mate. The mind of the American woman in which these symbols took concrete form could think only of Indian weavers. For the white man who is hungering for symbols of a state of living in total harmony with the universe, the traditional Indian can be glamorized as the answer to the inner emptiness of the city dweller surfeited with artificial values. At any rate, we may thus prefigure a future state of fulfillment in conscious harmony and unpossessive love. If this symbol comes to the consciousness of the inquirer after meaning, deliberately or through an aleatory act of revelation, like the act of throwing sticks to obtain an I Ching symbol, implied is the profound fact that every individual has his ultimate conscious task, the weaving of his immortal body, his Gnostic robe of glory. It may sound very mystical and far out, but there is a moment in every cycle when, in however small a degree, every individual may be confronted with the potentiality of a fulfilling set of self-realization and may ever so relatively find himself clothed in light for an instant. We are told by it that the fulfillment of desire is a possibility at whatever level and in however incomplete a manner it may be experienced. I know that was a kind of a long read, but this is, the robe, the enclosure, or the surround of energy that this particular painting that I'm working on, and why I'm honoring this Jupiter Chiron dance together, is because the healing protocol that probably most of us on this particular wavelength are either very attuned in with or would like to be is really, excuse me, more of it's a personal inflection on a capacity that actually exists within each one of us in order to facilitate appropriate healing that we require as, as a physical being here on the planet, from the physical perspective of, just living on the world. There are events that transpire in our days that cause us wounds. It could be diseases, could be, falling off your bike or, tripping on some stairs. The options are, almost infinite as to. And then the healing protocol of that is, to put the body back together. And that's the physical level. There's also a healing modality that works on the soul, that aspect of us that we are, actually when we incarnated in each of our incarnations, and this one particular that we're in currently, we were given dictates as to what that soul journey might hold in store for us. And depending on our particular choices for the direction our life has moved, aspects of that soul essence possibly could have been wounded, possibly are wounded. And the healing process of that is not really so much different from the healing experience that can transpire at the physical level. It's just more of an equation that takes into account energy shifts, because really we are energy beings more so than we are these physical beings. Actually, we're both, but I think in the potential avenues of the healing process, having an effective understanding of the energy level of who we are as a soul being will easily and naturally spill over into the physical container that we represent on this particular journey through this physical earthwalk plane. And so, that painting behind me is a reminder to myself of how this energy might be able to be instilled, reminded, actually is probably a better way to put that, of that natural healing capacity that each of us has contained within our own being. Okay, let's look at this astrology for this week. Monday, can't trust that day. Well, we got that square that we were talking about last week, remember? Neptune and Mars here. You kind of see Neptune's just a hint ahead of the Mars. But Mars is a much more rapid moving planet than Neptune, which takes, 165 years to make the circuit around the whole celestial experience that we know. And Mars, which takes about 2.5 years to do that same circuit. So you can kind of see in true Martian style, pedal to the metal, it's going places. And Mars is action, it's energy, there's a driving force that it represents. It's in the field of Gemini. So what kind of things might be being inspired by this Mars. I'm going to focus in a little bit more on this Mars and Gemini right now, because the other main aspect of this week involves the Sun catching up with Neptune and Mercury catching up with the Sun and Neptune, all at 25 degrees, while Mars is at 25 degrees of Gemini. So, how is your curiosity? Do you sense, from a Martian perspective, do you feel uneasy maybe? Is there some kind of do you feel like maybe there's a fire burning underneath you, wanting you to investigate things? Is the process of that, curiosity factor, making you uncomfortable? Well, curiosity it's healthy, and one of the things, the offshoots, shall we call it, of curiosity is change. Mars tickling the vibrations of Gemini right now, quite naturally. You're not necessarily going to feel overtly comfortable, because things are not going to remain the same. Mars it's kind of like too busy, heading somewhere with this level of Gemini curiosity at work to actually stay anywhere for too long a period of time that it might become, restless. So we've got that kind of a restless Martian Gemini energy in this particular square mix. Initially between Neptune, which began last week, or one could say a little bit further back than that, but let's just say from last week. Neptune, unlimited creative imagination, illusion, the land of dreams, because it's in Pisces, is being, woven together into those experiences of where this curiosity could lead us if there was a willingness to actually let go of some of the, what should we say, relished ideologies of what it is that we believe to be so, and the potential for that square between Mars and Neptune is to, possibly, are you paying attention to your dreams? Do you sense that there might be, is it subliminal messages that are coming through them? Do you keep a dream journal? Because I highly recommend it, because there are capacities within our consciousness, actually within our soul, that can be stimulated from those so-called subliminal dream realms that are attempting to get the attention of what our soul direction actually is about. The square between Mars and Neptune is stimulating that level of curiosity to, what is the next step in that process, and how willing, how driven might we be to take that? Comfort? I can't say as that's a guarantee, because squares don't generally represent comfortable things. They represent kind of like hard edges of, that need to be smoothed out through a process of actually doing the work. And this week, because the next aspect, watch these three planets, by the way. And Mars is basically, it's moving ahead at its pace. See now, Sun is at 24, Mercury's at 23, Neptune's at 25, all sitting there 1 degree apart. And then we go to the 16th, Thursday. What do we have? All three of these planets at 25 degrees of Pisces. And there's our Mars down there, 25 degrees of Gemini. Here's our tension between these things. So, Sun. Sun is solar vitality. It's that driving fire in the engine of life. We're talking about this all transpiring in the realm of Pisces, which is, it is about dreaming, but it's about so much more than, than we often pay attention to, because it's floating in a subliminal potentiality that actually requires meditation as a possibility of being able to tune into how am I going to be able to surf these waves of energy that are taking place in this Piscean realm. And Mercury, how we think also the ruler of Gemini, is now in the mix, and it's essentially Cassimi, the sun, which means that it's in the heart of the sun. And if you consider the sun as, royalty, king, queen, any of those characters that might fit into that royal scenario, truly a Leonian kind of thing. When a planet is in Cassimi, the sun, that is invited into the throne room and given permission to sit upon the throne. But that's not all. Because of the fact of that solar radiating energy, the planet is also given this vital tailwind, shall we call it, to, in this case, Mercury, speak its mind. So this particular configuration right now, that square between Mars and these three planets, has that mercurial flavor, which, is tying together that Gemini-Mars factor in a little bit more significant way than if it wasn't Mercury. It's saying that, yes, there are hard edges, but can you hear the potential, theoretically, what we might call subliminal messages that our dreams might be stimulating, that has a fire lit underneath it and is trying to give it the substance of life, that energy of expression. It isn't, you're not guaranteed that expression is not going to run into the hard edges of that square. Oh, no, not. Because you're going to get, blowback from sharing these awarenesses that your dreamscape is allowing for you to be, in tune with. One can hope that's the case. And in the realm of Pisces, this is there's a spiritual, and that word unfortunately gets used a little too much, an energy frequency that Pisces represents, that really, for all of us, we all have Pisces somewhere in our makeup. And that particular arena of the celestial dance that's taking place is beckoning to us all the time. How deep are you willing to go? How uncomfortable might you be willing to get as you bring cycles to a close, so that there is opportunity for something new to be created and born into the next moment? This is essential energy of Pisces at work. And this particular square involving these 4 planets it's not something that we should go out of our way to ignore. There is opportunity there, and as I have said, it isn't necessarily going to be handed to you on a silver platter. Oh, no, no, not. You are likely going to be required to actually do some work. You know, those Mars, Gemini, curiosity factors that pulling you in so many different directions, which might be the most appropriate. I can't answer that for you. All I can do is inform you that pay attention. You will know if, from a soul perspective, you tune into the adventure that awaits you as to which direction to follow. And the other aspects of this week are, I see Venus down here at the last degree of Aries. Mercury moving quickly. Friday, Mercury now, you can kind of see it's jumped into the lead here of this trio. Venus on Friday has shifted into Taurus. Taurus is one of the signs that Venus rules, so you can kind of almost feel the frenetic kind of energy that Aries represents, which is where Venus has been for the last 2 or 3 weeks, being released. Venus is not overtly comfortable while it's doing the Aries dance, because Venus is about, it's about love and harmony and artistic expression. It's a connection from the Taurian perspective to Mother Earth, to the natural world, to comfort, to the pleasures of life. And having arrived here on Friday this week, back into the home port of Taurus, those kinds of energies are, they're infusing, if you will, this Venusian harmonious love energy as saying, welcome home. It's time to relax. Have some dessert. Oh, there's a truly Taurian thought. We love dessert from our Taurian parts because there's something so sensuous, so delicious about the whole process of having dessert. Just feel into that for a moment. This Venus coming home to its Taurian roots. Saturday. I can see that the moon is moving along. We're approaching our next new moon, which is going to be, I believe it's right around 0 degrees of Aries, but let's not get too carried away with that. Sunday, the week comes to a close. Mercury, which has recently been doing its, stimulation, shall we call it, of our thinking processes as we try to, or make attempts at, organizing how is our dreamscape going, has just landed in Aries for the Sunday this week. Aries, action, impulse, a driving force to do something. So don't be overtly or too overtly surprised if some of the insight that has been gleaned recently from the dreamscape arena may feel like ejecting it out, opening our communication tool a lot more energetically, possibly to share some of that essence that the dreams have offered for our considerations just out there. You know, someone just happened to be, you know, one of your friends and stuff, and you say, oh God, recently, you know, this is your friend also is going through this same kind of energy. You know, we've all been through this Mercury in Pisces for the last couple of weeks, and that potential of opening up levels of what I don't know that we can really easily say with any overt level of clarity where that dreamscape may have and may still continue to lead us. We still have the sun in Pisces. Saturn will be in Pisces for 2.5 years, and the moon has just joined this Piscean dance on this Sunday. Neptune doing its, 11, 12-year dance through Pisces. We're not out of the Piscean realm yet, but we are approaching. You can kind of see we got 1.5 degrees left of the sun before the spring equinox. And last night we had to do the daylight savings time dance. Put the clocks and everything ahead 1 hour. Spring is coming. Have you got your garden planned yet? I know I haven't, but I've been thinking about it. I've been dreaming about the kinds of things to grow. So that's the energy signature that I see as being most relevant in the week ahead. And you're each going to have to play it in a fashion that is along the wavelength that you represent. And if you happen to need any assistance in along those direction lines, I do chart considerations all the time with people, which is much more specific than these weekly dances that I offer to you, which are kind of like, shotgun blasts, birdshot out there, touching so many different things at a general level, whereas individually, at our own particular chart level, there's different levels of magic that come up that involve all the planets in very unique fashion with each one of us. So if you happen to be interested in the astrology dance, contact me through my website, astroshapeshifter.com, or The Lively Astrologer. Either one of those will get you into that realm. So, ciao for now. Have a good week. Don't forget, dream well.